Hello, I'm Peter Blackwood. Welcome back to Icon Diary. As part of my project of painting icons of giants of the faith in the Uniting Church's calendar of other commemorations, I've painted this icon of Leslie Newbigin. He is commemorated on the 30th of January. And I'll read to you this little biography written by John Flett and Dean Eland. Newbigin was born on the 8th of December 1909 in Northumbria to a devout Christian family. It was not a faith that he shared, for during his time at boarding school he had, as he said, abandoned the Christian assumptions of his home and childhood. This changed when he attended Cambridge University and became a member of the student Christian movement. At the end of this first year of study, Newbigin spent his summer at a Quaker service centre in South Wales, one that catered to the miners of the region. In the midst of the hardship he witnessed, Newbigin had a vision. He says, "It was a vision of the cross, but it was the cross spanning the space between heaven and earth, between ideals and present realities, and with arms that embraced the whole world. I saw it as something which reached down to the most helpless and sordid of human misery, and yet promised life and victory. I was sure that night, in a way I had never been before, that this was the clue that I must follow, if I was to make any kind of sense of the world." This vision became the central point of all that follows in Newbigin's life and work. Upon graduation from university, Newbigin became part of the student Christian movement staff, and here he met and married Helen Henderson. They were to have 3 children. He would train for the ministry within the Presbyterian Church before becoming a missionary to India in 1936. He served as a district missionary for the period of World War II and was instrumental in working towards the creation of the Church of South India. In 1947 he was appointed Bishop of Madurai and Ramnad. Newbigin was instrumental in the ecumenical movement, working as General Secretary of the International Missionary Council and drafter of the many ecumenical statements. He was responsible for overseeing the integration of the IMC and the World Council of Churches. At the conclusion of his secondment to the World Council of Churches, Newbigin returned to India and served as the Bishop of Madras until his retirement in 1975. After returning to England, Newbigin taught theology of mission and ecumenical studies along with Hinduism at the Birmingham University. He transferred his ordination to the United Reformed Church and in 1980 to 88 became the minister of the Uniting Reformed Church, Winson Green, Birmingham. This church had had no minister for 40 years and was housed in a building that had stood uncondemned for 30 years. The neighbours were from the Indian subcontinent and the West Indies, and the church stood opposite the gates of Her Majesty's Prison, Birmingham. This experience confirmed for Newbigin the missionary context of Western society. Newbigin was the keynote speaker and the Bible study leader at the first and only National Conference of Australian Churches held in Melbourne in February in 1960. 350 attended the 10-day conference, and 175 participants were members of the Methodist, Presbyterian and Congregational denomination in Australia. The conference signalled a renewed emphasis on the mission for the local congregation. In his closing remarks, Newbigin addressed that the ecumenical encounter was, as he says, for the sake of the gospel and the witness that you have to bear to the Australian nation. The conference was timely and influenced the work of the Joint Commission on Church Union formed by the three denominations. The November 1962 report, The Church, Its Nature, Function and Ordering, was a key document that led to the formation of the Uniting Church 15 years later. Newbigin initiated the Gospel of Our Culture movement in the early 1980s, which would become better known as the Missional Church movement in the United States. Newbigin died in 1998. As one of the key and most central ecumenical and missionary thinkers of the 20th century. He was a prolific author, and a good number of his books have stood the test of time. So, thank you for watching this video and listening to this story of this remarkable missionary, this Christian giant, Wesley Newbigin. Please leave a like, please leave a comment, and I look forward to seeing you again in another edition of Icon Diary.